Now, Germaine, we've been talking to lots of people tonight. Some older, some younger.
Yep.
We're talking about trusting the Lord and letting Him guide us because He speaks to us. Now, what if I said, you know, there's probably a bunch of people out there who are watching the show tonight and they're like, well, I don't even really know what to look for. You know? Mm-hmm. What are some things that, like some good quality things that we could say, hey, if, you know, like, okay, let's go back. I was telling you this before. Sometimes we're really driven by what we see. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes we see like a good-looking guy or a good-looking girl and we're like, ooh, how you doing?
Yeah.
But really, if we were to close our eyes for just a minute and listen to what they're saying, you would find that they're no longer...
You wouldn't be that interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to let our viewing audience know some good quality things to look for.
Good dental hygiene.
Dental hygiene.
That's really good. You want to make sure. No, I'm joking. Well, no, I'm not joking. You want someone with good dental hygiene. I think ultimately, you know, I've dated here. I've dated non-Christian girls. I've dated Christian girls, so on and so forth. But one major factor that is just, it's paramount. It is so important. It is the most important thing possible. Is that person knows Jesus Christ. That is so important. And the reason why that is because the Bible talks about God being love. And the best person to learn from in terms of love is love himself. You know, you have a lot of these, you know, secular love songs and you kind of listen to it and you're kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool, but they don't have a real revelation of what true love is. One characteristic or something that's really, really important that you want to look for is someone who actually knows God. Someone has a relationship with Jesus because they can love you better. I have like so many friends who are married, who are living healthy, godly relationships. Their marriages are so amazing. Like it's just they love the Lord, they love God, and it's just and it's not saying it's perfect, like nothing else, you know, like everything's all perfect and whatnot. I'm sure that there's struggles and whatnot, but man, it's just like you can see the glory of God all over them, and you can see how happy they are. And it's not a front because, you know, I roll with really straight up people and they'll tell me like, ugh, but no, it's really cool. But they come to me and they say, Germaine, you know, when you look at somebody, you gotta make sure they love the Lord. You know what I mean? They have to know Jesus, because out of that love relationship that you have with Jesus, you're gonna wanna love. This whole issue of, you know, selfishness pops up, especially in our society today, where it's just kind of like relationships are very, what can this person do for me? Or what can I do, you know, this person has to do this for me, this for you, this for you, this for me, instead of saying, hey, like, what can I do for that person? And when you understand that, you know what, the relationship's not just all about me, you know what I mean? But how can I serve this person? How can I honor that person? You have two people who are thinking like that, who are acting like that, and you're saying, you know what, God, like, you know what, I'm committed to serve this person for the rest of my life, and obviously the context of marriage. You know, marriages work. But even, you know, if you feel like you finally got that person that you're really interested in, you can say, you know what, God, like let's work on this whole thing and let's plow through together and let me serve that person. Let me encourage that person. If two people are doing that, it's a strong relationship. It's gonna be great. So, number one thing, you know, Jesus being Lord, making sure that person knows God, because if they don't know God, they don't know love, or they have some type of, you know, perspective of love that's not necessarily the best. So.
No,
yeah,
that's good. That's number one. Everyone say number one.
Number what? Oh, that's two.
That's two. Number one. Another thing that I was talking to somebody about this week is I was talking about how what like a really attractive quality is integrity.
Yes.
And like, which just really means you say one thing and you follow through. It's not you say one thing and then do another. Or integrity is, you know, things like they don't lie. Do you know what I'm saying? But integrity to me, so I was talking to this one girl about somebody that I know, and I'm like, he's just such a solid guy, like just real integral. And she kind of looked at me like she had never even thought of that aspect before. And so I want you to know, like, you know, like there's more to life than just partying and drinking and going out and just doing whatever. Like, in the grand scheme of things, in the long run, you want someone who's integral,
Yeah.
who says one thing and does what he says,
Yeah.
does what she says,
Yeah.
because that's such a beautiful quality.
And that builds trust, which is really cool, because when you have someone who's integral and someone who they say what they say they're going to do something and do it, it just builds trust. But if they say something to you and they I'm going to be, for example, when it comes to lateness, for example, or I should say punctuality, they say I'm going to pick up at 4 o'clock and they come at 4:45, or they said I'm going to be here and do this, and they don't follow through. It's kind of warning signs that maybe they're not quite there. Yeah. Another thing that I've noticed too as well that's really, really huge is you want someone who, I'm not too sure if this kind of flows with integrity, but you want someone who isn't a gossiper, or someone who's very kind of like backbiting, and you want someone who they speak well of people. They're an encouragement to people. I was at work, and this one time at work, and this girl, we were in a meeting, and then we're talking, and then our manager pulled us aside and said, "Hey, listen, you guys are not supposed to be talking in the meeting." And I apologized. I said, "You know what? That's totally my mistake." And the girl turned to me and goes, "I can do whatever I want. How dare he say this, and how dare he say that?" And he started gossiping, started backbiting my manager, and I'm thinking, like, what's going on here, really? So that was kind of like, immediately how I processed that was, if I was ever interested in you, which I wasn't, that was just like, out the window. Because I'm thinking to myself, man, if I was in a relationship with her, how would she treat me? Like, if I said something that she didn't like, she'd probably be like, "Oh, I can't stand my man," and da-da-da-da, and all the attitude and all the other extra stuff, which I'm not really, I'm about. So, gossiping. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not saying that Germaine is perfect.
No.
And these are the standards that you need to come up to. No, that's not the case at all. What we're saying is we're giving you tips on things that we think are so valuable and so important, because we've walked through them, but we've seen different things. We've seen a lot.
Yeah, and the hugest thing I want to mention too is it was so big what you just said, not being perfect, is that, but you said something prior. You said that the willingness to want to change, or the willingness to want to say, you know what, God, I have this area in my life that I really, really suck at, for lack of a better term. I'm not really that good at. So help me, especially if you're in a relationship or you have friends who are accountable, who can ground you and say, hey, listen, dude, I love you. But you got to change this area in your life, and that helps. That helps so hugely, because if you're not open to hear and receive correction, rebuke, then it becomes really problematic. So
yeah, and one more thing, and then we're coming to you, callers. We are coming, but we just want to touch on this too. Is that this is my whole thing lately. I've been like, I really just love beautiful people. Not physically beautiful, like I like that, but that there's something else deeper on the inside of them that just kind of draws you to those people. For example, everybody wants to be around someone who gives. Like a giver. Like, my sister is amazing because she's always giving, or she's always giving something, whether it's not, whether it's donating for, Haiti, or, like, everybody loves those people that do those things because it's godly principles. And when you do those things, you're beautiful. Like, you're made beautiful. So when Germaine was talking about gossip and what comes out of our mouths, like, I think I was in a store the other day, and I was watching a mom and a daughter interact, and I was just, doing my thing, and all of a sudden this daughter was like, to her mom, and then the mom was like, and I was like, oh, I'm like, that's just ugly. Like, I'm like, and I would not want to hang out with that. Like, I don't know if you'd want to hang out with that, but I just don't think it's very attractive.
No.
So I was going to say this, is that what's going on the inside of someone by how they talk. So if you're listening to people and how they talk, if you just close your eyes for a minute and you're like, let's listen to how they talk, then you know what's going on the inside of them. And so if there's gossip and turmoil and hatred and impatience, then that's going to come out in what they say, and then you're going to know, hey, that's who you really are, because that's coming out from the inside. Yeah.
And there's a scripture that talks about that. It says that from the abundance of your heart, your mouth speaks. So over time, we were talking about skeletons in your closet. You could fake the funk for a certain time period, especially like say, you know, you're interested in a person in a relationship, right? In that context. But what's in here is gonna come out. So in that particular situation with that girl at work, you know, a lot of stuff came out, and it was just kind of like, it was a huge, just wasn't interested.
Yeah.
You know,
See?
so it's just, yeah.
See? So God's concerned about our hearts too.
Yeah.
He's concerned about our insides. And so trusting God with relationships, part of that is getting yourself ready on the inside. Because the more beautiful you become on the inside, the more people want to hang out with you. Yeah.